Well, I want to thank you all for coming today, and I'd like to thank, first of all, the Lafayette High School Junior ROTC for the fine job that they did this morning, and I'd also like to thank the Character Education Committee here at Eureka High School for asking me to join you today. I prepared a little briefing. These days in military training, they have this Microsoft slides and stuff like that. These days we call it death by PowerPoint. And whenever I teach the marching band, I always use a microphone like this. I call it my weapon of mass instruction. Anyway, before we get started, let's talk about officers a little bit. First of all, what does a Marine officer do when a cockroach walks into his room? He stomps it with his boot. What does a Navy officer do when the cockroach walks into his room? He flushes it down the toilet. What does the Army officer do when the cockroach walks into his room? He sneaks up behind it and kills it with his knife. What does the Air Force officer do when the cockroach walks into his room? He gets really mad and calls the hotel manager to send someone up to fix it right away. Anyway, today I decided to speak a little bit about what we did in the Middle East this summer relating to troop morale and the effect of troop morale. First of all, a few experts. General Patton said, "An Army commander does what is necessary to accomplish his mission, and nearly 80% of his mission is to arouse morale in his men." The famous Chinese general in his book, The Art of War, Sun Tzu, said, "He will win whose army is animated by the same spirit throughout all its ranks." And then Karl von Clausewitz, who is best known for saying war is an extension of politics by other means in his book On War, said this about morale: "These military virtues of an army are all important. Whether a nation wins or loses is often determined by the spirit of the army. If morale is low, a force cannot win." And so these military experts agree that troop morale is very important. Of concern to us, a 2011 internal Army study said that troop morale was, in 2010, at a 5-year low. Over 1,200 were surveyed, and they found that high stress, depression, and anxiety are up. And 50% of soldiers, this is a stigma, a problem that we have in the military and in the civilian sector. 50% of soldiers said that if they sought help, they were afraid they'd appear weak. The good news is that this survey was prior to the death of Osama bin Laden, and although the statistics don't necessarily bear it out, by many reports, morale is up as a result of that. So what can we do? Well, first of all, we noticed that there are many excellent quality of life issues going on in forward deployed locations. I noticed that we have computers almost everywhere you go. You have internet access so you can stay in touch with loved ones. The dining is excellent, really good coffee, dining facilities, things like that. There's the exchange is full of good things to make life a little bit better. Books in the library to keep your mind going. The fitness center is first class, and the movies are cheap. So there's a lot of good quality of life issues going on over there. Also programs, there are poker tournaments, dance nights, definitely a ton of athletic events, things like that. Then there are also special events. While we were there, I don't know if some of you may not be familiar with the X Games, these extreme sports, skateboarding and snowboarding and things like that are, and those of us here know that that's what happens when you lock your knees when you're standing in the position of attention. And other things that we had going on in the AOR are special events, like our military band appearing. This particular video, if we could lower the screen once again, this particular video was shot in northwest Afghanistan, and it shows a little bit about what our band did while we were there. Watch that one. Following these performances, had a couple comments by commanders. This particular one was from an undisclosed location, and this gentleman happens to be a former Thunderbird, and he speaks about some of the effect that those military band performances had.
Our airmen are always fired up. They come here ready to come every day. We don't need to go out and motivate our folks to do what needs to be done. But the family pressures of being deployed, the heat, the environment, it can wear on you. And to have fellow airmen coming to extend a hand and to say, we know what you're going through, and to put it all out here on the stage to show these airmen that thank you. And that's what Sidewinder did tonight. They expressed their thank yous to us. And you can see the energy going back and forth between airmen, and it's all that's needed. That energy, that comradeship, that sense of knowing what each other's going through, that uplifts our troops and gives them that extra energy to keep pushing the mission and keep doing what they do best. So this is just a great synergy, a great back and forth, and a great compliment to what we do every day and towards performing our mission and being airmen. It's important that Sidewinder and bands and the entertainment and any type of medium or any type of vehicle to uplift troops around. It's important because it keys the mission and it takes the mission to the next level. To the extent that our folks are trained, we're the best in the world. We train the best people, we give them the best training, and we equip them with the best resources. What's left is what each person brings to the table each day to perform the mission. And that's within each individual. To the extent that each individual is at his or her best, feels happy, feels good about themselves, that's where we go to the next level as an Air Force. And events like this reaches into the inner soul of each individual, and it motivates him or her to bring his or her best to the game.
That's nice to hear from the Colonel. Let's hear from what one of the E4s in the audience had to say.
I thought the performance was really impressive because I've seen a lot of bands before. I'm used to seeing live shows and stuff like that. And they played as a unit, and they sounded great, and they played songs that everybody liked. So everyone had a good time, and they're good at what they do. That's that. Well, I've never heard of Sidewinder until tonight. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if they would sound good or not. You know, live music is kind of a hard thing to pull off. It's hard to get certain levels right. I used to play live music, so I know what it's like. And they just had really good cooperation. They had a good effect on the audience. They included everybody. They had stage presence, and that's all elements that live bands need to have. And they had what it took. They had everything. Some of us work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. It's pretty difficult, it's stressful. And just to be able to take a break even for a few hours and have some snacks and listen to some live music, definitely actually put a smile on my face. You know, we're all proof that what they do works and our morale does go up, for sure. I congratulate Sidewinder because, it must be hard to get in that position. They all have to have the necessary skills, a good attitude. They have to be able to handle being on the road and everything. Being on tour and being away from your family, they're deployed just like we are. It's the same thing. And I tell them to keep up the good work and keep following the plan that they're using because it's working. It's doing good things for everybody.
So that's some good feedback for special events and things like that are going on in the LA. So what can we do here? I would like to suggest several different strategies and things like that we can earmark today and take note of and perhaps move forward in. First of all, I'd like to encourage you, if you're a boss, if you're an employer, hire a veteran. We're trained to follow instructions, dress and appearance. They're trained to learn, and I just want to encourage you to retrain a veteran to work in your place of business. You know, the president recently challenged the private sector to hire 100,000 veterans and their spouses. Now, how does that affect troop morale? When you give somebody a job, you elevate that person. And if we as an American society hire veterans, then we elevate the role of the American soldier in our society. We remember varied responses over the various conflicts, how troops were received coming home from World War II versus how troops were received when they came home from Vietnam. So in the space of 30 years, as a society, we can do that, and I think we should do all we can to elevate the role of the American soldier in our society. Volunteer. The USO is available. I know every time I go through an airport and I stop and have a Dr. Pepper, it's certainly a comforting thing that makes the trip a little bit better to know that I have somebody on the other end who's there to shake my hand and thank me for the work that I'm doing, and it makes a big difference. You can get involved right up at Lambert Field at the USO or some of the satellite stations or any one of a number of different areas. You could donate. You could donate time, helping around the house for families who have a loved one who is deployed. Maybe they're having a plumbing or an electrical problem, and that's your area of expertise. You could help out in that way. And in fact, the First Lady and Dr. Biden are starting a White House initiative called Joining Forces. And this is a national initiative where you can get connected with local events and local programs to volunteer and donate. And I encourage you to check out joiningforces.gov to learn how you can volunteer. And last, one thing I think we can do to bolster troop morale and to elevate the role of the American soldier in our society is to teach young people. And that's what we're here to do today. First of all, just like these young people are doing behind me, fly the flag. It doesn't fly over the land of the free and the home of the brave unless we put the flag out front. Celebrate your American heritage. I think many of us are proud of our ancestral heritage, but I encourage you to, every chance you get when you speak to young people, celebrate the fact that you're an American and that team is the one that you're on. Just like this one, I encourage you to attend and support patriotic events. And when you're there, tell young people what it means to you to be an American, that we can pass this heritage on to the next generation. And when you get involved, I encourage you to bring young people with you. And I hope that today is once again a reminder and a refresher for the good things that we can do and remember our place in American society, to honor those who have served, to lift up those who have served, and to pass those values on to the next generation. I want to thank you all again for coming. Thank you for having me speak. And I'll be available in lunch if you have any questions for me. I'd sure enjoy talking to you. Thank you once again.